Good afternoon. Can I ask why you're sitting here?
I'm not bothering anyone, officer. Just doing my job.
Yeah, well, you need to move along. This area is getting complaints.
Complaints about what? Because I'm sitting with a cane?
Because you're hanging around. Let's go before this turns into an arrest.
Are you racially profiling me right now?
No, sir. I'm asking you to move along. Now.
I'm on official duty.
Still need you to leave. We got a report about...
March 28th, 2023, 2:19 p.m. A public park in a mid-sized American city. Security cameras are rolling. A man sits alone on a wooden bench beneath the shade of an oak tree. He wears dark glasses and holds a white cane resting against his knee. To anyone passing by, he appears to be visually impaired, quietly enjoying an afternoon in the park. In less than 20 minutes, a man trained to enforce the law would learn what it feels like to be powerless under it. He will be handcuffed, accused of trespassing, and placed under arrest. His crime? Sitting on a public bench. His identity? A federal agent conducting official surveillance. This is a story about assumptions, about power, and about how quickly trust can collapse when bias enters the equation. Before we continue, if you value investigative journalism that holds institutions accountable, please consider subscribing. Content like this takes time and resources to research and produce. Your support makes it possible. Marcus Ellison was 41 years old that afternoon. At home, he was a father of two who rarely talked about his work. His daughter was preparing for college. His son had just started middle school. They knew their father worked for the government, but the details remained vague, protected by classification and necessity. The stress of living two lives weighed on him, but Marcus carried it quietly. He had served with the Federal Bureau of Investigation for nearly 14 years, specializing in financial crimes and undercover operations. His work had taken him into boardrooms, casinos, and warehouses. He had posed as a corrupt accountant, a money launderer, even a disgraced banker. The role required patience, precision, and the ability to disappear into a character so completely that even trained criminals would trust him. On this particular day, Marcus was assigned to monitor a suspected drop location tied to an organized financial crime ring operating across 3 states. The investigation had been ongoing for 7 months. Intelligence suggested that a key transaction would occur in or near this park between 2 and 4 p.m. Marcus's job was simple: observe, document, and report. He could not leave his post. Doing so would compromise months of coordinated effort involving multiple agencies. His cover that day was designed to make him invisible, unremarkable. A man with a visual impairment would not draw attention. He would be overlooked. That was the theory. At 2:19 p.m., Officer Daniel Whitaker approached the bench. Whitaker was 34 years old and had been with the department for 6 years. He was responding to what dispatch had described as a vague complaint about someone acting suspicious near the playground. No specific behavior was mentioned. No threat was identified. Whitaker's bodycam footage shows him walking directly toward Marcus, his hand resting near his belt. "Afternoon," Whitaker said. "Can I ask what you're doing here?" Marcus turned his head slightly, keeping his posture relaxed. "Just sitting, enjoying the park." "You been here a while?" "About an hour," Marcus replied. Whitaker glanced around, then back at Marcus. "I'm going to need you to move along." Marcus remained calm. "I'm not bothering anyone. I have a right to be here." "I received a complaint. You need to leave the area." "What kind of complaint?" Marcus asked. Whitaker's tone shifted. "Doesn't matter. I'm asking you to leave." Marcus took a slow breath. "Officer, I'm here on official business. I'm not leaving." What happened next would cost the city millions and end one career forever. That was the moment the conversation changed. Whitaker stepped closer. "Official business? What does that mean?" "I can't discuss the details, but I am authorized to be here." "Authorized by who?" "I'm not at liberty to say." Whitaker's jaw tightened. Bodycam footage shows his shoulders square. "Sir, I don't know what you think you're doing, but if you don't leave right now, you're going to be placed under arrest." Marcus remained seated. "Officer, I need you to understand that removing me from this location will interfere with an active federal investigation." "A federal investigation," Whitaker repeated, his voice laced with skepticism. "And you expect me to believe that? I expect you to verify it before making a decision you'll regret." By now, other people in the park had begun to notice. A woman with a stroller slowed her pace. Two teenagers pulled out their phones. Marcus could feel the situation slipping. He needed to de-escalate, but he also could not abandon his post. 14 years of training told him to stay composed, but the father in him felt the familiar tightness in his chest, the same tension he felt when he knew he wouldn't make it home for dinner. "Is this because of how I look?" Marcus asked quietly. "Because I'm black? Because you think I'm disabled and vulnerable?" Whitaker's expression hardened. "This has nothing to do with race. This is about you refusing a lawful order. What law am I breaking by sitting on a public bench?" Whitaker did not answer. Marcus reached slowly into his jacket pocket. Whitaker's hand moved toward his sidearm. "Easy," Marcus said. "I'm reaching for my identification." He pulled out a black leather wallet and opened it. Inside was a gold badge and an FBI credentials card bearing his name, photograph, and badge number. "I'm Special Agent Marcus Ellison, Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm conducting surveillance as part of an ongoing operation. You can verify this by contacting the field office." Whitaker stared at the badge. For a moment, the Bodycam captures silence. Then Whitaker shook his head. That could be fake. Marcus blinked. "Excuse me? People buy these online all the time. I don't know if this is real." "Then call your supervisor. Call the FBI field office. Verify my identity." Whitaker did not move. "I'm not calling anyone until you comply with my orders." This was a critical procedural failure. Standard protocol dictates that when an officer encounters someone claiming to be a federal agent, verification should be immediate. Whitaker had the means to confirm Marcus's identity within minutes. He chose not to. "Turn around," Whitaker ordered. "Hands behind your back." Marcus stood slowly, his movements deliberate. "Officer, you are making a serious mistake." "Turn around." Marcus complied. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed in the footage. A small crowd had gathered. Phones were raised. Someone shouted, "What did he do?" Whitaker radioed for backup. "I have one in custody, trespassing, refusal to obey a lawful order, resisting." Marcus did not resist. He stood perfectly still as a second officer arrived and conducted a pat-down. They confiscated his phone, his wallet, and his badge. Whitaker placed him in the back of a patrol car. As the door closed, Marcus looked directly at the Bodycam. "This will not end the way you think it will." At the station, Marcus was processed. Fingerprints, photographs, paperwork. He was placed in a holding cell while officers prepared the booking report. In that cell, Marcus thought about his children. He thought about what he would tell them if this became public. He thought about the men and women he had sworn an oath alongside, and how one of their own had just treated him like a threat. At 3:47 p.m., the FBI field office contacted the police department. A supervisor had noticed that Marcus had not checked in as scheduled. When they learned he was in custody, the response was immediate. Within minutes, the department's Internal Affairs Division was notified. The watch commander personally called the arresting officers. Whitaker was pulled into a room with two senior officials. The badge was real, the credentials were valid. Marcus Ellison was exactly who he said he was, and the operation he had been monitoring had just been compromised. The charges were dropped. Marcus was released without apology. Whitaker received a formal reprimand and was placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. When the Bodycam footage was released 3 weeks later, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Local news outlets picked up the story within hours. National media followed. Civil rights organizations issued statements condemning the arrest. Legal analysts dissected every frame of the footage, highlighting the procedural violations, the refusal to verify credentials, and the escalation of a non-threatening encounter. Community groups organized protests outside the police department. They demanded accountability, transparency, and reform. The department issued a statement expressing regret for the incident and promising a full review of policies regarding interactions with federal agents and individuals with disabilities. But the damage had been done. Trust had been shattered. Marcus Ellison, a decorated federal agent who had spent years protecting the public, had been treated like a criminal, and the footage made it impossible to ignore the uncomfortable question at the heart of the incident. Would this have happened if Marcus had been white? 4 months later, Marcus filed a $6.3 million civil rights lawsuit against the city, the police department, and Officer Whitaker personally. The complaint alleged false arrest, racial discrimination, disability discrimination, and violation of his constitutional rights under the 4th and 14th Amendments. It detailed the psychological harm, the professional embarrassment, and the erosion of public trust caused by the incident. The case was settled out of court in February 2024 for an undisclosed sum believed to be in the millions. As part of the settlement, the city agreed to implement mandatory training on implicit bias, disability awareness, and protocols for verifying the credentials of law enforcement officers from other agencies. Officer Whitaker was reassigned to administrative duties and eventually left the department. Marcus returned to active duty, but the incident left scars. In a rare public statement, he said, "I have dedicated my life to upholding the law. On that day, the law failed me. Not because the system is broken, but because the people enforcing it made assumptions based on what they saw, not who I was." March 28, 2023 should have been an ordinary day. A man sitting on a bench, an officer responding to a complaint, a brief conversation, maybe a misunderstanding, and then everyone moves on. But assumptions have weight, bias has consequences, and power, when exercised without accountability, can strip away dignity in seconds. Marcus Ellison's badge should have been enough. His credentials should have been verified. The law should have protected him. Instead, he became a case study in how quickly trust can collapse when perception overrides protocol. The question we are left with is not whether this will happen again, it is whether we will recognize it when it does. If stories like this disappear, accountability disappears with them. This kind of journalism only survives when people like you choose to support it. Please subscribe, share this video, and help ensure these stories continue to be told. Because the truth doesn't always wear a uniform, but it always deserves a voice.